Nowadays, it can feel like all of your favorite photographers are selling their own Lightroom presets, and it can leave you wondering, are they worth it or are they a waste of money? I spent hundreds of pounds on my journey to becoming a professional photographer on presets, and I can give you the definitive answer. Yes, but. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the real reason why you should buy Lightroom presets and how you can use them to supercharge your photography results, and I can guarantee it's not the way that you think. You can get great results with Lightroom presets, but the truth is that 99% of photographers that buy them are using them wrong. Why? Because they use them as an editing tool rather than a learning tool. They're looking for a $20 solution that's going to help them turn their flat, boring images into something that looks like their favorite creators. And sadly, that's just not how editing works. In fact, that can result in two things. One, an image that does not reach its full potential, and two, an over-reliance on one-click editing, both of which are bad for your development as a photographer long term. That's why I said yes but at the top of the video. If you're going to buy presets, it has to be because you're going to use them to deconstruct how creators are getting the end result for their images and learn how to do that yourself. So I'm going to walk you through the 5 steps you need to take to help you supercharge your editing results and start creating more vibrant images in Lightroom. The first step is to find a creator you love and buy their presets. Now, this $20, $30 investment is going to be worth an awful lot more than some of these $200 to $300 editing courses that you can find online. And if nothing else, you're going to be supporting a creator whose videos you've been watching for free for however long. So you can get a couple of little brownie points like that as well. For this video, I'm going to be using James Popsey's master presets to talk you through that. I think he is an absolutely fantastic photographer, a great YouTuber as well, so I'll drop a link to his channel and his presets there. Do go and check him out when you can. Okay, step 2 is to understand the global impact of the preset. That just means how it affects the entirety of the image. So open up the presets panel and just scroll down and hover over a couple of different ones until you get a result that you feel like you like the look of. I'm going to go for this old school preset here. I think that's really, really good. But before you click apply, pay close attention to the histogram and watch how the histogram changes once you apply it. So the histogram looks like this at the moment. If I click on old school there, we'll see that everything has shifted down towards the shadows. There are 3 things you want to focus on when you're assessing the global impact of a preset. You want to look at the brightness. Has it made the image lighter or darker? Contrast. Has it drawn out a greater contrast between the different elements of your photo? And finally, the color. Do the colors look more vibrant? Do they look duller? What has changed about the colors in the image? The way that we want to start to assess that is to look at this in the side-by-side comparison. So if I bring up both of those here, you can see that the image on the right-hand side is a lot darker, as shown by the histogram. Some of the colours are really starting to pop out, so this blue looks much more vibrant, much more teal-like, and the contrast between the foreground and the background is really, really, really strong. Now this is going to take us over to step 2, which is to focus on an element of the image. So there are lots of things that change when you apply a preset, and all of the sliders work together to create an effect, and it can be a bit overwhelming to try and deconstruct that, especially if you're a beginner. What I would suggest is focusing on one area of the image and see how it has changed and what you like about it. So for me, what I really like is that there is now a greater separation between the background and the subject. You can see that there is more depth to the image. So in trying to deconstruct this, I'm just going to focus on how that effect was created, especially because I shoot in flat light. Sometimes you struggle with separation between things. If there is a way to try and create that, this preset might teach me how to do it. To try and understand that a little bit more, what we're going to do is we're going to toggle on and off some of the settings and see what changes in the image and see if it adds or removes the effect that has been created. So you can do that just by clicking this little eye icon here and start to turn things on and off like so. If I click on the basic sliders there, you can see that not an awful lot changes. The image gets a little bit darker when you take it off, but that effect of contrast still exists. You can also look through the sliders as you're going through and see if anything has changed here that surprises you. For me, because everything has been pushed down the histogram, I kind of figured that highlights and shadows would be pushed down, that the contrast has been brought down a little bit as well. However, the exposure didn't change, I find a little bit surprising. You can toggle the tone curve on and off. See, that does make a difference, but if I open the tone curve, not an awful lot has changed in here, so I don't want to mess about with that too much. If I turn off the color mixer, that's when I can really start to see the difference in that contrast. So turning that on and off, you can see that there is a greater depth here, and that's really what's creating this effect that I like. So if I open that up and go in, you can see that the greens have kind of been desaturated and the blues have had more saturated added to them. And if I start to drag this blue slider down, see, that's really what's creating that effect. So that's really interesting, that adding saturation to certain colors can create a level of depth to your image. Now that's something I didn't know before starting this video, I'll have to admit, so I've learned something in the process of creating this. So now I've deconstructed what it is about this element that I like. In your editing, you could go through and try and repeat this for different elements within the image, or you can just focus on that one area that really makes a difference in the drama. I highly recommend that you go through and turn off these sliders as you go. Step number 4, you're gonna start to play around with the sliders and see if you can improve the image any more. So I'm gonna zoom back out and look at this globally and go back up to the top layer of basic edits here, the editing sliders. And I'm just gonna play around with things and see if I can make the image feel better or worse. So if I play around with the highlights, I can see that I actually quite like them dark. If anything, I'm gonna push those a little bit darker. Bringing the shadows down makes it a little bit too dark. So I'm actually gonna bring those foreground shadows up just a little bit. And then what I'm gonna change here, this is a pro tip, if you're actively looking to try and add a little bit more texture to your images, is to bring the clarity down a little bit, which creates a bit of a stronger bokeh effect towards the front, and then bring the texture up ever so slightly. So there's much more texture in there, but there's still the same level of blur. And that for me feels really, really, really nice. Once you've got a result that you're happy with, you're now going to take this to step 5, which is save and export this image and re-upload it as a reference photo. So what you can see here is that this is the image that I was just using with the presets, and this has been reset back to being the raw version. Now what you're going to go and try and do is, using this as a reference photo, is try and recreate the same effects that you saw. I'm going to go through this, but I'm going to jump through it very quickly, and I'm going to show you the end result. Okay, perfect, that's done. Now this is quite a quick edit, I didn't spend too long on it at all, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Now I know it doesn't look exactly like the image on the left hand side, but that's the point, right? This preset was created for a very different scenario than the one that I'm using here. So what I've done is taken what I learned from that about creating that separation through the background, creating more contrast, and applied it in a way that I think resonates more with my style. This is not a result that I would have got on my own without having used this preset, but by deconstructing it, I've been able to create an image that I'm really happy with, using things that I learned from that preset without replicating it one-to-one. And if you want to learn more about how you can use software to help your photos, click here and see the next video.